I have been shocked by the prices here in Budapest. Well, hello there from beautiful Budapest, Hungary. You can maybe see the Hungarian Parliament building in the background. We got the stain or the steel bridge right here, whatever it's called. But let's talk about something that you're all probably curious about, and that is the pricing here in Hungary. So I suppose the first thing you should know is it is not a cash-based society. So you can get around just fine with just tap to pay. Frankly, I see pretty much everybody using tap to pay. I haven't had to use cash whatsoever on this trip. So you would be fine with just having cards and I guess a little bit of spare cash. Always good to have a little extra cash on hand, right? And if you go to some of the the other, let's say more local markets, you might need cash, but I haven't been to any markets like that. And then the next thing to know is the currency. So they use the Hungarian forint, and as of recording, it's trading at like 340 Hungarian forints to $1 US. So I just round down to 300 Hungarian forints to $1 US. And the reason I do that is because, one, I'm not good at math, so I can't always convert 350, and it's just easier to go 300 and be happily surprised that it is less expensive than what the conversion said in my head. Because if you obviously went to 400, then you would be not so happily surprised that it costs more than you thought. So no, nothing special to rant on about there, but yeah, that's the currency, not on the euro. All right, so we are out front of the lovely Four Seasons Hotel right here. And oops, almost just tripped and died on camera. And that's about $800 per night. So let's go ahead and talk about what most of your guys' biggest expense is gonna be, and that is accommodation. And this is where I was frankly shocked and appalled. So to be clear, I knew this going in ahead of time, but this is F1 weekend here in Budapest, which is the whole reason I came to Budapest for the F1 race. So accommodation is a bit more expensive than usual. And so I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of context into what I'm about to say. So I did a little research because a lot of people on my channel are interested in Warsaw, Prague, and Budapest. And so I was like, okay, what would be like the entry-level price if you don't want to be like in some shitty hostel, or you also don't need to be in the Five Seasons or the Four Seasons or the Intercontinental or anything like that. Just like something good enough to get you by, right? You don't need to be living big. And so in, I think, Warsaw, it's around $500 to $600 per week, which is decent enough, I would say. It's probably a little bit lower on the totem pole. You're probably looking, I don't know, low 500s or so, low to mid 500s. Prague is about 500 to 600, but then it's going to be closer to the 600 mark, maybe a little over 600. Okay? And then right now in Budapest, you're looking at probably 700 to 750. Now, I would assume when it's not F1 season, that's probably inverted, where you're probably going to be paying $100 to $200 less per week than in Prague and Warsaw. But right now, it's $100 to $200 per week more. So just to give you a little bit of context. And I guess note you guys should be aware of is when you're going somewhere, be aware of the events going on in that area. Because I've actually made this mistake before with Andrea. We were going to Mexico City, I think. And I was like, okay, let's go to Mexico City for the weekend. We'll have a good time, blah, blah, blah. how much is a place in Polanco where we like to stay? And the prices were outrageous. I'm talking more than 50% increase. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Whatever, we want to go to Mexico City. We're doing it. And we get there and it is packed. And we were at a coffee shop and the guy goes, oh yeah, you didn't know it was F1 weekend? And I went, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, but just a quick note for you guys. Make sure to be aware, if you're doing any last second traveling at least, of what the prices are. All right, because I'm sure there's gonna be some backpackers who pull up here and they're like, yeah, this is not budget friendly at all. What are people talking about? Okay, next up we'll talk about some of the other expenditures you will have. All right, next up we are gonna be talking about transportation costs. And for me, this is probably gonna be different than it is for you. I enjoy being in walkable areas. In fact, it is like one of the key criteria of where I choose where I wanna stay is being somewhere that is highly, highly walkable. And so I point that out because I have spent practically nothing on transportation. I got an Uber from the airport to my hotel, and that was the only transportation I had to pay. Is something like $40 or something like that. And otherwise, I haven't taken a taxi, I haven't taken anything like that before. I have just been walking, and I actually do this for a couple of reasons. One, it's good to like help you stay in shape and not gain that vacation weight. So I think I'm averaging probably around 25,000 steps per day or so. So obviously that makes it a little bit easier to control my weight. And so with that in mind, I would imagine that the transportation probably is super affordable. There's like some app you can get, maybe called Budapest Go or Hungary Go or something like that, that you can use. And apparently there's a train or a bus, I don't know, something from the airport to the city center, but it's just so much easier to use Uber, and it's rather affordable, especially if you're only doing it twice, like 60 bucks. Not bad. So yeah, in regards to the transportation costs, I have mainly used feet as my modality of transportation. So my fees are pretty low, so I couldn't really give you the nitty-gritty details, but once again, I would assume it is rather affordable. Obviously, they also have the public buses. As a matter of fact, I did see that if you're under 14 or over 65, which probably doesn't apply to anyone watching my videos, public transportation is free, whether you are Hungarian or an EU citizen or not. You just have to have your passport and show them for proof of age kind of stuff. So along those lines, I would say, once again, really affordable. Oh, I should also point out, when it comes to walkability, the Pest side over with the Hungarian Parliament building, way more walkable than this side over here, the Buda side. And that's just because this side over here, way more hilly. In fact, I've stayed on this side once before, and like I said, it is kind of a deal breaker because it's just a nightmare walking all over the place. Generally, I just start out my hotel and walk a big loop around to get a decent amount of steps in for the day. And yeah, so if you want to minimize those transportation costs where you're not really having to pay for Ubers and taxis and take public transportation and stuff like that, then I would highly recommend staying over on that side in like District 5 or something. 5 and 6, I think, are the two right here closest to the water. Don't quote me on that, but So while we're at it, let's actually just talk about the next thing, and that is actually going to be like things to do and things to go see. And I would say on that front, it's obviously gonna widely differ on what things you want to go do, what things you want to see, and so on and so forth. But it's relatively affordable from everything that I have seen. So there's a circus that was, I want to say, like $15 US or something like that. And then there was a gun range that was, I don't know, I think it was $80 US. And then there's different packages that vary up or down from that price range depending on how many bullets you want to shoot, what guns you're shooting, and things like that. And then I don't know the price of these things because I didn't go do anything on the water, so no idea what some of these things cost out there. All right, and then as far as other things to do, you know, you have the thermal baths, which I've been to before. Not really my thing. I mean, I'm not going to get into the spiel here on that, but just it's not for me, okay? And then there is the museums, which I think I've already talked about in another video, maybe this video, which I would highly, highly recommend doing. And then, you know, the carnival or the circus and the gun range, and then just whatever else fits your fancy. You could go to like the ruin bars, which are really overpriced and not particularly interesting in my personal opinion, but that is, you know, personal preference. And then what else? Food, bars, stuff like that. So really affordable depending on what you're doing, but most activities are probably less than $20 US per person or something like that. All right, here we are at Jabarano Coffee in Budapest, and I thought I would share with you some coffee prices. How about that? So I paid 1,790 Hungarian forints for this, which is a espresso tonic, which has really grown on me over the years. And it's pretty good. And this is apparently Indonesian specialty coffee. So keep that in mind. It's not like your cheap, run-of-the-mill kind of coffee, okay? And here are the prices. If you can see that, I hope so. So an espresso, 850, flat white, 1,550. Filter is 2,200. An Americano is 1,000. So an Americano, you're looking at about $3, $3.50. The forint is trading at 340-ish huff to 1 USD. So you do the math on that. All right, there is a small update on some pricing. Right, so the last thing you are probably wondering about is the cost of meals. So I actually haven't had all that much Hungarian food. I think I had goulash or stroganoff, whatever it is. And I think it was around 3,500 forint, so, you know, around $11. And most of the time I've been eating at other places, but I would say the average price, I'll probably throw in some screenshots around here, per entree is probably around $11-ish, maybe $10.50, somewhere around there. And right now I'm actually at this place called Deshi Dine. I'm having Bangladeshi food for the first time, and their prices are closer to like the 4,000 forint mark. Once again, I'll put a screenshot in here so you can see it, and maybe I'll record some of my food or something like that. But yeah, I think that should give you a pretty good idea of what to expect. I usually order between 3 and 4 items when I go out to eat, because I kind of just want to try a bunch of different stuff, right? And maybe I'll get like a starter or something, and I haven't gotten any drinks or anything like that, and it's usually around 30 to 35 US dollars, and that's for 3 entrees typically plus a starter. So keep that in mind. Like I just ordered, what I just ordered here, I got a chicken, I got a beef meal, and I got a curry. So I got 3 things, and I haven't paid yet, but they were all around 3,000 to 4,000 foreign. Okay.